Now we've got a very strange request from the hotel. In fact, more than a request, it is a requirement, which I will tell you immediately after the next session. We would like to invite Mr. Vijender Yadav, CEO, CTO, and co-founder Accops. He's going to be speaking about improving productivity at bank with a secure digital workspace. Please get your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, as we welcome Mr. Yadav on stage.
Okay, thank you, and good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Vijender Yadav. I am the co-founder and CTO at Accops. And how we work, where we work, and with whom we work has been changing at a very fast pace. And the pandemic has opened up new avenues for organizations to use the modern end-user computing technologies that are available to them to ensure that they accelerate digitally and improve the productivity. My presentation is about learning from a large bank, where we help the bank to improve the customer service and improve productivity. But before I present that, I want to take this opportunity to introduce Accops, because we are not a known brand in the end-user computing space, but we do have some success and some experience. So Accops is acronym for Access Operations, so that's all we have been doing all these years. We are a leading developer of work from anywhere technologies and solutions. We help you develop secure, agile, flexible, and affordable digital workspace solution for your end-user computing needs. Right? And we do it three ways. So one is we help you build this solution for seamless work from anywhere solution using our virtualization technologies and ZTNA gateway technologies. The second is we provide you on-demand remote work security. That means wherever the user is, whatever device they're using, and when they are working remotely, it has to be secure. The third thing is the enterprise-wide authentication, where we provide you strong identity and multi-factor authentication solutions. Right? About the company, we were established in 2012, so 10-year running. We are a bootstrapped company, 100% made in India. We are one of the top digital workspace solution providers. We service around 700 plus enterprise customers globally, India being our major market, where we service around 500 plus customers. And then Japan and Middle East happen to be the two other major markets for us. And we are infrastructure agnostic solution provider. That means we work with all clouds, we work with all on-premise infrastructures that you would have. These are some of the reference customers that we service. So we are spread across all verticals. Of course, BFSI has been the biggest buyer of our solutions before pandemic, and especially during pandemic, everybody expanded, the solutions. And lately, government has been, another big, buyer, for our digital workspace solutions. Right. So no one would have believed these numbers if the pandemic would not have happened. Right. The pandemic caused a shift in the talent, technology, skill set, and the working model. How our workforces are working. Now, for instance, let's say automation and the gig economy has significantly, changed the skills, the life of the skill, role, and careers. Right. According to Gartner, 83% of the employees, they want to work from, in a hybrid model, and only 19% actually never want to come from office, come from home to office. So, if organizations wants to accelerate, they have to make sure they have the right talent and the digital solutions so that they can continue to, gain, the digital business acceleration. The CIOs need to focus on building human-centric work designs, that provides more autonomy from where and when and how the works get done, right? Developing new principles, policies, and practices to improve engagement, culture, and performance. Like one of the numbers that we got from Gartner is that the gig work or gig economy was supposed to grow from 5% to 25% pre-COVID, and during COVID it actually accelerated, and now 66% of the work happens through gig work. And as Indians, we are absolutely loving it. As Indians, we are globally #1 in liking the flexible work hours. We are #1 is using mobile apps for work. We prefer virtual meetings rather than in-person meetings, and we search online first. Anytime any user has a problem, they will go and search online first rather than calling their IT desk. Right? Also, we are digitally more savvy population. Right? So 30% of the Indian millennials consider themselves to be digitally proficient, whereas the whole world population, the millennials, is just 42%, and we are just number 2 after French. French considers them to be more digital savvy. Now, with more remote work, definitely more challenges will come in, and I'm sure all of you have dealt with it during the pandemic time. Cyber security issues, the variety of the endpoints now, they are even more difficult to manage. The regulation and privacy issues and the skill gap that everybody faced during COVID, a lot of resignations, and at the same time, people already did not know much about how to enable remote work. And the application scalability and complexities, they were very visible during the pandemic time. Now, as people are coming back to office, there is a new type of challenge that organizations are facing, is to support hybrid work, right? So now a user has got a laptop and it was configured for work from home, and now suddenly the person is coming to office for a few days and then going back. This is creating a different kind of user experience issues for them, because they ultimately, users expect that they will have a seamless experience across home and office, right? And like you see the number that 70% of the people would want to continue to do so, right? And that is creating a different kind of issue, that what technology should be used to make sure that people can work seamlessly from office as well as from home. So one of the solutions that I want to talk about, we do multiple solutions, but this is one of the prime solutions that I want to talk about today, is the VDI based end user computing solution, right? And it's all about, I'm sure a lot of you would have experienced that rather than installing, managing application on the endpoints, you create a virtual desktop infrastructure in the data center, or by the DaaS services. Configure your virtual machines and your application infrastructure, endpoint applications on VDI, and then users, wherever they are, be it office or home, they can remotely access this virtual desktop technology. Now, as the applications are running within the virtual desktop, that means the users are not now creating data locally on their laptops, right? So that means you have less headache to manage in terms of the data, right? And as this solution matures, you can actually remove the applications from the endpoint, so your devices, they start to becoming more and more lighter. Okay? And that means now you can adopt, more number of devices, variety of the devices, more thin-client, more lightweight, endpoints, even adopt BYOD as well. In fact, VDI is the most recommended technology if you want to adopt, BYOD. And that means now your users could be anywhere, right? So they don't have to, this solution is not just for the home users, but the users within the office, wherever they are sitting, whether it is a branch office or corporate office, they can be delivered a solution like this. So the case study that I have for you today is for a bank. This is India's 5th largest bank and 3rd largest PSU bank. You see the size, here. And they had never used VDI before, and this was like one of the architecture for them to deliver critical applications for their Swift users, right? And Swift users have to be physically, isolated from the normal LAN anyway. And this architecture, of course, had tremendous amount of problems, right? So it was physical air gaps, it was giving good security, but that means users have to use 2 devices now, right? And the moment you have 2 devices, the user experience is already bad. The costs are high, high provisioning and high maintenance cost of 2 PCs on a single desk, and the whole architecture is very inflexible. That means now the person has to come to office only, to do any kind of Swift transactions or critical application access, right? So these are some of the concerns that were told by the bank to us, is that this is inefficient model, high cost, no mobility, and there is always a risk of human errors, right? And they were still not confident about the Swift actually running on physical PCs, and continuously invested in endpoint security, more and more endpoint security solutions, right? So this is the architecture that we suggested to them, which is based on VDI for these internal users, right? So there was a separate VDI setup for Swift and another VDI setup for the rest of the application, core banking, emails, internet, and the user was given a thin client device. And on a single thin client, now the user can access both the VDIs at the same time, right? So even though Swift has to be isolated as per compliances, we could meet those compliances, Swift running in a different environment and CBS and other apps running in a different environment, providing complete audit logs and overall security that the bank wanted, which is required for Swift, and ensuring that the user just need one device now on the list. Right. One of the key challenge here that came up was biometric authentication, and that also was provided by us. Now, once the user started working and pandemic hit, they actually got the real benefit of this overall solution because they could just extend the solution to their work from home users as well. And although Swift was not exposed, but the CBS applications could be accessed by the home users as well. Also, with this architecture, they could ensure that the Swift application is now available across the branches, right? So earlier there were only fixed branches or fixed locations where Swift was accessible. So that means the number of transactions that they could do was limited. But now Swift can be accessed across the branch offices. Of course, authorized locations, authorized devices only. But at least now they have visibility, with this architecture. So the benefit to the bank were quite a lot. So they could go from 6,000, transactions. From 1,000 to 6,000 transactions in a day. And the end of day operations happened very swiftly, especially during the COVID time when they were not sure end of day cycles can be run over a weekend kind of solutions or no. But with VDI it was very seamless. The work from home was absolutely available, ready for them, and Swift could be accessed from anywhere. It also improved the overall end user experience because earlier the user had to switch two devices and had to see the details here and feed it here across two devices, which was difficult. And that we could solve. In terms of security, now there is another layer of software air gap that we have put in, right? So there's a thin client, so which already has low footprint in terms of what can run on the thin client, and then there is a virtual layer, and that's where Swift is running. At the same time, we could provide more automation to them, right? So now the Swift is running on a VM. So if at all there is any kind of potential attack, they could just revert back the image to the gold master in minutes, right? Rather than trying to format the whole physical infrastructure, they could just format, revert the VM to the last known state, right? And also we provided them all the audit, data in terms of which apps the users are running, how long they are running it, what was the user behavior. Right, biometric authentication, like I said, that was built into the solution, so they did not have to change anything, right? So we kind of integrated with their existing biometric solution as well, right? And overall, it was very cost-effective solution for them, removing two PCs to one thin client, and of course, power consumption is actually a significant bill when you look at VDI. The power consumption cost itself comes out to be, very high. And with this, we could kind of offer them a borderless enterprise for hybrid work, which they are now looking at extending, with more users, where with this VDI infrastructure, they can enable any user who's coming to office. So bring your laptop. If you're working from home, access your VDI. If you're coming to office, you can sit anywhere but still access the same VDI, right? So it gives the seamless experience to them, and of course the same experience the user get whether they are at a branch office. In terms of the TCO, and VDI has been quite infamous for high cost, right? So I thought I'll provide you this overview of this, which we validated through multiple banks. That what do they think about this cost, right? So when the left side is your physical PC based computing, and right side is your virtual desktop, right? So we generally think that it is easy, it is cost effective to buy a physical PC, but you can see that various indirect costs that are involved in managing a physical PC versus a virtual desktop will look costlier in terms of your initial capex, data center investments, right? But the rest of the indirect cost gets reduced significantly, and you get that cost benefit. And I would admit that it is very difficult for us to put these in numbers, right? But I'm sure everybody believes that this picture, kind of showcase the value of VDI. So as Accops, what we do is we provide this Accops Digital Workspace solution, to our customers, and the company was formed with the belief that organizations want to deliver applications to the user rather than delivering network, right? And in our previous company, we were building a VPN solution, and then we saw Citrix and 2x kind of solutions, and we felt that ultimately application delivery is the core what organizations need to look at, as long as it can deliver that with the right performance and efficiency and security. So we started building this stack of the solution rather than only build a point solution. So we got a ZTNA solution which which gives you remote access anywhere, anytime without really bridging your network. So if you just want to use the access gateway and replace your legacy L3 VPN, we can do that. And through that ZTNA gateway, we could deliver any type of application to the users, especially if it is a corporate-owned device, right? And with the ZTNA gateway, you also get a lot of endpoint security features, on-demand endpoint security features like data copy control, print screen control, controlling the internet of the user, right? So like for a work-from-home user or for your vendor users, it is not possible for you to deploy, let's say, DLP agent or a web proxy solution, right? But you could do that with our gateway, right? So, and it's on demand. The user logs in, it converts the end user device into a kiosk. The user logs out, the device is back to normal. But unless if you want to retain that state on that device, you can absolutely do that. So the ZTNA gateway, it's an on-premise solution. And then we have the VDI solution, which I just mentioned. And through the VDI, you can deliver any type of application, virtual desktop running on Windows Server, Windows 10, Linux-based desktops. I'm sure everybody knows Citrix and VMware View very well. And I think we are giving tough time to Citrix and VMware View in this space. Then we've got a full-fledged multi-factor authentication solution as well. And all these three solutions, they combine together very well, one single portal for users to access. And the MFA solution is pretty exhaustive in terms of it can integrate with any application, not just Accops applications, but you can integrate any of your internal applications, be it legacy or modern application, and you will not have to change any single line of code. Right? So that's our value proposition, that you want to integrate biometric to 100 applications, you can do that within a minute time once the basic infrastructure is set up. Right? And we've done that for several customers of ours. And then finally we have analytics, where we of course give you the dashboard reporting and analytics around it. Right. So these are some of the other key customers that we serve, like Axis Bank, 30,000 work from home users, 60,000 users with biometric authentication across their branch office, that we serve. Deutsche Bank, we have been serving for almost 8 to 9 years now for their vendor access using VDI. Exim Bank, integration with Finacle for biometric authentication, as well as ZTNA gateway and VDI. Now the benefit for these banks is that they get everything from one single vendor, right? So all of these pieces. IDFC Bank, again, we are their work from home solution provider, across their user base, right? So that's it from my side. I have 3 minutes if anybody want to ask any questions.
They coming to you.
Is this on-prem solution or cloud solution?
Everything right now is on-premise, but VDI we have started providing DAS as well. So if you're looking for DAS, we can do that as well, based on Microsoft Azure.
Compared to Citrix VDI, what is that when you bring all your technology orchestration
Right.
Over Citrix?
So compared to Citrix, if you're saying that, okay, what is better than Citrix, right?
No. I'm talking about Citrix doesn't transmit any data. Right? And that is where their acceleration,
Right.
application acceleration happens. So what is that you bring on the table?
We do the same thing, right? So it's a virtual desktop, so you remotely connect to it, on only the bitmap is getting transferred. Right? So the application is executing on a remote VM, and the user is only viewing that VM through the remote computing protocol, and only the keyboard clicks and mouse movements will be there.
In this use case, you mentioned about Swift desktop and core business desktop.
Right.
And the front end is single or it is different?
The front end is single interface for the user. They log in, they see 2 desktop icons, so they click on Swift desktop, they get a Swift desktop. But these 2 desktops are running in an isolated environment, isolated VLANs.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
There's another question. There's another question? Sorry.
Sure.
Sorry. When you compare Citrix VDI, how cost effective your solution is? VDI?
50%.
Okay.
And when I say VDI, see, you can never deploy a work from home solution with just VDI, right? You will need an access gateway, you will need NetScaler, then you will need multi-factor authentication. Combine all that, you will be 50% cheaper. also I'm just not even including the services that Citrix costs you, right? I mean, Citrix will not come and support you, right? So whereas you will have that support available from us. Another question.
I think the biggest challenge that we have seen in Citrix, the performance gets very slow. Like all the developers or anyone that we give them.
Right.
So have you handled it, proficiently here, or is it the same case with that? Because Citrix is a big vendor. I understand they provide a lot of things.
Right.
But then I have seen that multiple companies, starting from big service providers to the different other product companies, everybody says that yes, you cannot have that kind of a feel when you're working on your own laptop and using the Citrix. You will literally suffer.
So, two parts to this question. So one is definitely it will not happen that the user will get absolutely the same experience, right, on a laptop. But it's very subjective to what application they are trying to use, right? So there have been applications in enterprise environments where they will absolutely not work when the user is working on laptop, and especially when they are working remote, right? Example is Polycab. Their managers will come and say, give us VDI, we don't want a laptop, right? Because they use file servers. They access a lot of file server applications. The second part is where you said that Citrix becomes slow. And I think that is a function of the services part, right? Citrix has, by the way, one particular problem that they have a legacy solution now, 25-year-old company, so their solution is built by acquiring 18 different companies, and we, although being a technology provider, I could not believe that Citrix would be slow, but our customers have reported 5-minute login time for Citrix if it gets disconnected, whereas ours is like 10-15 seconds, right? No customer has ever complained that Accops is taking like more than a minute to log in, right? But I think that is because they have built a lot of things on their own. What we use is we use a lot of components which Microsoft has built as part of the OS. That's why Citrix has some inherent problems. But other than that, a major function is the services part. Like a lot of service providers do not understand how to do VDI correctly, and they will end up either undersizing the infrastructure or overcommitting in terms of the experience that the users will get. So while we provide the products, we absolutely provide complete handholding services, consulting services, on-site support, anything that you need from service part, we will do that.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. Can we have a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen?